Nagaspato. Here. Mr. Bizzuti. Here. Ms. Alfieri. Mr. Angelopoulos. Here. Mr. Ferrandino. Here. Mr. Bruno. Here. Mr. Vindola. Here. Mr. Donovan. Here. Ms. Key.
Here.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the following means. Annual notice was sent to the Record, the South Bergenite, the Observer, Township Clerk, and posted in the lobby of the Town Hall and Board Office, setting forthcoming scheduled work meetings and public meetings of the Board.
Good evening, everyone. Something I'm going to go over tonight is our self-assessment for determining HIT grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. So I'm just going to share some information with you. We'll make this available on our website. As we submit everything, it's going to be on our district website as well as our individual school websites. Our scores for each school were based off of a top number of 78, so each score is based off of a 78. So it's probably easier, the way that we do it is we use a percentage based off of 78. So I'm going to go to each school building and say what the percentages were, as well as the actual score. Columbus School, 68 out of 78 for an 87%. Franklin, 68 out of 78 for an 87%. Washington, 68 out of 78 for an 87%. Memorial, 70 out of 78, 90%. Lincoln, 69 out of 78, 88%. Jefferson, 70 out of 78, 90%. Roosevelt, 66 out of 78, 85%. And LHS, our high school here, 73 out of 78, 93%. There are some small things that we're going to do, including posting the results this year on each of our school website pages that will actually increase our score. So just some little things that we're going to do to make sure our numbers that can be improved. And some things we're doing for the 1920 school year that are going to also impact our scores is our school safety and climate teams will receive additional professional development. We will expand our HIP grade, as I just stated, to not only the district website, but school websites. Our Lyndhurst Stigma-Free campaign will continue to talk about what is stigma-free, mental health awareness. Being a stigma-free town, we will continue to build a caring community that supports education, dialogue, and training about mental illness. And then we'll have a phase 2 of the Stigma-Free campaign, which is also this year, and it's expanding our grades. Expansion of our Unified Club, which does a great job to include high school and unified sports. I mentioned this earlier, I believe over the summer, that our Unified Club received a large grant from Special Olympics, $18,000, which they did a great job doing that, so thank you again. It's going to really build our program, and it's really one of the model programs in the state right now. To be continued, we'll probably hopefully share some more good news at our next meeting that I don't want to share yet, but we got some good information coming. I think it's going to really, going to highlight some of the great stuff going on here. Continuation of classroom lessons, trainings, and programs at all of our levels, K-12. And we're also going to be using Sanford Harmony for our social emotional learning curriculum to further integrate at the K-5 level. Some of our special occasions coming up, Week of Respect is the week of October 7th. School Violence Awareness Week is the week of October 21st. And Red Ribbon Week is the week of October 28th. So we have all different kinds of things going on in our buildings. Our students and staff get involved. And it's really a great thing. So we're really going to continue to increase awareness in this area and make sure we get as much involvement as possible from the parents and the community. Besides that, school year is off to a good start. Our students seem excited to be here. Weather's been nice, maybe a little too hot for the fall, but again, we're going to continue to do everything we can in the best interest of children. And I know I'll probably be talking a little bit more this meeting, so thank you for coming. I'll turn it over now to Mr. Egan, our state.
Good evening.
was assigned to this district to review all spending, all staffing, and all contracts to ensure that the district, which is in deficit for over $4 million, does not incur again additional funds to deficit. But before I go into details about that, there's something else I'd like to say about the town of Lyndhurst. This is my third district that I've been assigned to try and assist and correct deficits. When I came here, I expected to find mismanagement, other problems. What I didn't expect to find was a real community. The fact that the town is building a new middle school at no cost to the school district or the taxpayers, I find that absolutely outstanding. I've never heard this before in any other district. And I want to congratulate the community, especially the mayor and council. But in reviewing the finances of the district, I discovered that the district is paying my contract almost $1 million, $959,388 to be exact, in health insurance opt-out payments to approximately 78 employees. 73% of those employees are on the family plan, and they're receiving $13,500 each for that opt-out. The only district that I found that was being paid, that was paying out more, was Atlantic City, and they were paying their opt-out $22,000. And when the monitor was assigned there, that they immediately came to me. With the number of people opting out, it only leaves approximately 201 employees to fund and to maintain a self-insured plan. The experience of plans with the number of people maintaining the self-insured plan is a disaster coming. You may be doing good right now. All you need is one or two, I won't say catastrophic, but severe illnesses, and the fund will be bankrupt, and the fund then goes to the roof. It will fall on the district, who pass it on to the members that were in it. Just the premiums would go up. We showed you like that in researching it when I first came here. I researched the health insurance, and going back a number of years, the district maintained the health insurance with Blue Cross Blue Shield fully funded. At one point in time, it was decided by previous administration to switch and become a self-insured plan. That only lasted a year, maybe 2 years. And they had, whatever company they had to switch again, but they went to another company, but they had to maintain, they did maintain self-insurance. In order to make this district straight, the deficit increased because of those switches in between health insurance plans. $954,000 extra that the district had to pay. And that money was then put in as part of the loan to make the district whole. This same thing can happen with this district because the amount is so small. The number of people is so small. And that's why I recommended to the board that we start looking at, and this is going back into May, we contacted the unions and other employees that we were looking into, and we started to analyze the different plans. There's moving to go and state health benefits. There's a thing about equal to or better that must be maintained. That would be equal to or better for the 200 employees who have not opted out. But the 75 employees that have opted out, they don't have a policy with us. They're under their spouses. So for them to make a claim of equal to or better, they don't have anything to compare it, because they're not in the policy here in Lyndhurst. With the 200 though, one of the things about the local state health benefit, the premium in certain cases is higher. But the employees have a choice within state health benefit of all different policies. The premium one is the Direct 10. The one that I've seen that could impact and be better for a majority of the 200 is the zero plan. The zero plan is helped orchestrated by the NJDA dealing with the governor. And the zero plan, the motion passes, I fully recommend that everybody look at it, because there's no co-pays. The premium is lower. You go to your doctor, and everything is just cheap. And you're covered, and you're part of a huge group that you don't have to worry about your neighbors. In addition, it's a demonstration that the premiums for the zero plan is lower. This goes through, the plans changed on January 1st. Your January 15th payday, you will have more money in your take-home plan, because the premium is lower, and Chapter 78 contributions then are lower. Plus the fact that you have no copay. It's a plan. The only criticism that some people have is that you have to stay in network, that you can't. You can still go to an out-of-network doctor, but it would be not as much as a savings for you if you stayed in network. And the networks are huge. There are rules out there that you might not be able to, if necessary, go into New York City to some of their hospitals if you need a road. And that's false. You can, because it's still part of the network. The thing is, you have to stay within network. Last but not least, because the district is in negotiations with the LEA, and I don't know if all of you are familiar with it. I'll just explain it, because if you're not, when a local district goes into negotiations with the Board of Education, the New Jersey Education Association, NJEA, assigns a representative to work with your negotiations with them. They supply many useful information to the local association. They come in with comments about one of the salary awards that were awarded to one district. They unified the position of NJEA. And I support that, because one local unit going against the board head, it would be best if they had that support. And they bring many, many useful information to the association. It's come to my attention, though, that NJEA rep was kind of like pushed out of the way, because he recommended and evaluated everything, and his recommendation was that the district the local move to the state health benefit plan. If anybody's out there, getting close to retirement, or have retired already, you're in the state health benefit plan. Because when you retire, that's where your medical insurance will be covered by, the state health benefit. It's a good plan. It presents security, and it presents security, and once again, it's a good plan. I wouldn't recommend something that's going to hurt you. I think this is best for both the employees and the board. That's all for my report.
Everybody get that? May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the August 26th? All right, we got two. It was Jim and then Susan seconded. Roll call.
Mr. Rappustato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. 4. Ms. Alcieri. Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Ferrandino. 4. Mr. Bruno. 4. Mr. Mendola. 4. Mr. Donovan. 4. Ms. Keefe.
4. Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out. We're now going to have a public hearing on the agenda items. Roseanne, your name is first on it, but band. So now, I just want to make sure. So Roseanne, and I'm going to also assume Leslie, they're banned items, so they're going to be on the non-agenda items. Okay. So the first person is Diane Balchicchio.
Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Diane Balchicchio, and this is my 10th year teaching in Lyndhurst School District. I would like to share some of my previous experience with you to give you insight as to why I'm speaking here tonight. I began my teaching career at 22 years old in another district. In January of my 3rd year, my principal told me that he would be recommending me for tenure. 2 months later, the superintendent retired, and a new one came in to find missing money. Many faculty, including myself, lost their jobs and programs were cut. I moved on to my 2nd district. But then a man named Chris Christie was elected into office, and my extra position, which was created to add support for the students and make the class sizes smaller, was in jeopardy. I was again forced to search for a new job, even though my supervisor was happy with my work. I was on to my 3rd district, which was Lyndhurst. I prayed that the 3rd time would be a charm, and it was. I got tenure after my 3rd year. I was a class advisor, started a homework club, and helped with INRS. Fast forward to my 8th year, the 2017-2018 school year, and I felt like I had went back in time. Money was missing yet again, and I was nervous about my job. But this time, I wasn't only nervous for me. I was worried about my growing family, because when all the talk about cuts began, I was pregnant with twins. My family was growing quickly, and I knew we couldn't afford for me to be without a job. Luckily for me, my seniority kept my job, but not without changes. I was moved from the high school to Jefferson, and while it has worked out well, it was scary for me to think of coming back from a maternity leave to a new place, doing a new job that I had never done before, all while having 2 little ones at home to take care of. And now I am concerned once again. Moving to the state plan has a few ramifications for my family. One of that monetary loss that you speak of, but more importantly, and much more importantly, one of putting the state in charge of my young daughter's health care. The state has failed me and other teachers before, and I am worried about it happening again. When our former governor, Chris Christie, was elected and I lost my job, and I took on my new one, I did not object to the idea of having to pay for health care. But lately, the price that I've been paying has been higher than that of my friends who make double to triple of my salary. But I still rationalized it with my health care as the best. Now I fear losing my great health care and putting it in the hands of a government who we never know when the next Chris Christie will be elected. Currently, Senate President Steve Sweeney is trying to shift those with the Platinum Plus to gold level coverage. This is why, due to previous experiences and now being a mom who only wants the absolute best for her children, I urge you not to move to a state plan for our health care and to please keep us in a privatized plan where we know things may not be perfect, but we're allowed to have a little bit more control over our care. Not one that will be in the hands of a government where they can make changes at any time that they want, and we will have no say over that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The next person is Joe Vistola.
My name is Joseph Bastola, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Administrators Association. Mr. Egan, we are respectful to everything you had to say. We understand that there are issues. However, numbers do not lie. All the other stuff is rhetoric. Numbers are numbers. And respectfully, we will vigorously defend the fact that we believe that the benefit plan that you're proposing is not even close to equal to or better than. It is less coverage, and it is in fact more money. And therefore, we will defend our right to see that through to whatever means necessary, because we have data that has been provided by your own Board of Education and Business Office that, quite frankly, when you talk about a catastrophic year, and you did have one quote-unquote catastrophic year, quite honestly, it is our belief that it may be because of mismanagement on your behalf. And on top of that, there were some other things that we believe were not done incorrectly in terms of stop-loss insurance. And we've opened those requests. We've yet to get them, and tomorrow is the day that they are due. So we will be expecting those as well. And we do understand that there's an issue. We do understand that there's things that do need to be negotiated. However, we will also vigorously defend what we believe the numbers provided by your board and your broker clearly show. Thank you.
Carrie Ryan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carrie Ryan, and I work at Washington School. This is my 5th year here at Lyndhurst, and I have to say I've had nothing but an absolute positive experience. I've made great friends. I have a wonderful new superintendent, and I have great coworkers. I come to work hard. I love the kids, and I go home and work hard. My day doesn't end at 3 o'clock. I'm also a type 1 diabetic, so my life has a little more stress added to it than some people have, but some people in this room have similar stresses to what I have. I'm not the only one with an autoimmune disease in this building. It's my 5th year. This will be my 4th insurance switch, and what I don't think everyone understands is the headache it brings to switch insurances for people that have a laundry list of specialists. I have an Omnipod, which is an insulin pump. I have insulin, I have tabs, and my day is filled with stress, aside from the kids. I have to worry about my health at all seconds of the day, and switching insurances has just added to the headache. Last year, I had to pay out of pocket for my insulin pumps. As some of you may not know, it's about $400 to $500 because when we switched insurances, dealing with the insurance company was not simple. It was not easy. I had to call about 30 different people. I got so stressed that my family had to get involved. I had people on the board calling, and It brought a lot of stress to my life for about 2 full months, and I don't want to have to do this every year as a teacher in Lyndhurst. I want the best insurance. I understand everything you're doing is from a business perspective, and I want the school to be out of debt as much as anybody else, but there are a lot of personal issues that I would love to be taken into account when you're making your decision. We all love this district, but we do also want what's best for ourselves and our families, so thank you.
Thank you. Darius Hughes.
Good evening. My name is Darius Hughes. I'm the Vice President of the LAA Association. Over the past few months, there have been hundreds, if not thousands, of questions asked by our membership on varying things: healthcare, our contract, middle school, the referendum, lawsuits, all types of things that have come from the members. I wrote some of them down. I've tried to address them as best I could, but there's one question that stands out above all others. It's really kind of a simple question that most of our membership can't get past, and that question is why? Why are we always the whipping boy when things go wrong? The Lyndhurst Board of Education loses or misspends $4.5 million. We lose 12 teachers, aides, supervisors, and none of them have been rehired, yet supposedly we're in the black. According to Mr. Egan, he did say that in one of the meetings, we're in the black now. Our teachers who lost their jobs, and I know you're not beholden to hiring those people back. Yet I find it ironic that now that we do have money, none of them were. Another why is if we have ample money, again with Mr. Egan telling us that we're in the black, we can hire 4 new directors at over $100,000 per year. I'm not sure their exact salary, but I know it's more than a teacher's salary. A new scoreboard, a new lacrosse team, yet not enough money for us to keep our insurance. This is the 4th time in 5 years we're being switched. 4th time. I'm not going to say it's a formal poll or any type of paper or anything like that, but in discussing with these people, again, for months, there are currently, by my total, I could be a little under, a little bit over, but 39 people who have said that if we go to the state plan, they'll be opting back in to the state plan at a cost of $930,000 for the Board of Education. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but that's, again, very informal. No one was ever asked to write anything down, but in conversation, this is what we've been told. I've been told. I'm not sure why you keep stating that it will be equal to and better when your own insurance broker said that 2 out of the 4 categories we've gone to is more expensive. And they said that in a meeting in front of Mr. Weissig and Mr. Greco and Mr. Egan himself. 2 out of the 4 are more expensive. Another why. Our plan, according again to the broker that you pay, is better than what you'll be going to in the state. Not my opinion, not anyone here's opinion. The opinion of your broker, the person you hired to represent you, said that we'll be going to a lesser plan. You know, another why is we look at teachers across the country under attack by their own federal government. We look at teachers across the state of New Jersey under attack by the state government. Because it's not only Chris Christie who did it, now we're seeing it with State Senate President Sweeney. Why should we be under attack by our own Board of Education? I don't understand why that is at this point. We spent a lot of time working on this, along with Mr. Williams and other members of our LEA Executive Board. Taking it back a little bit when I hear Mr. Egan saying that we somehow pushed aside Mr. Tommy. If anyone knows Mr. Tommy, no one's pushing aside Mr. Tommy. If anyone's ever worked with him knows that to be true. I was actually shocked by that we pushed our own representative aside for what purpose I really couldn't imagine. All I know is I hope that what's happening now is not going to have an impact on what needs to happen in September. I really do, because it seems like that's the way we're going, and I hope we get this thing worked out, because the 150 teachers and secretaries and janitors who are sitting here tonight, out of a membership of 280, if you know anything about trying to get that many people to come to an event, we're not happy about this at all, and we do not want to go to state plan this time. Thank you very much for your time.
Rob Williams.
Good evening, all. Robert Williams, the president of the LEA. Wholly agree with everything that's been said so far, and I'd just like to bring it home and support my members who just spoke. And I'd just like to bring to everybody's attention that as members of the Lyndhurst School District, we all clearly understand that we are currently at the crossroads of greatness for our district. We have a beautiful new school opening in less than a year. This undoubtedly is a positive and exciting glimpse of the future for all of us and for the town. We as an association understand, as do many others I'm sure, that difficult decisions must be made to secure our future and allow us to thrive as a district. It must be said also that we understand the job Mr. Egan must undertake in his role as state monitor to aid in securing that future. It is also not lost on our association that Mr. Egan is not responsible for the dire financial situation we find ourselves in at this juncture. Having said that, we as an association must humbly remind the members of the board and Mr. Egan that the responsibility for this situation has never been accepted by any person or persons who were responsible for it. What we do know is it certainly was not any teacher, secretary, custodian, or other member of the general staff. The unfortunate truth is, we will probably never know. And that, at this time, that is regrettably, the point is moot. What is glaringly obvious is that it can never happen again. And we as an association, as well as this board, we hope, will work to see that it does not. In closing, I would like to respectfully request that the members of this board never lose sight of the fact that despite the tumultuous times we've had to endure for over 2 years, our district has achieved great things. Specifically due to the hard work and selfless dedication, we have successfully passed the yearly scrutiny of CUSAC for the first time in 15 years. We have, as we have heard, increased PART scores and NJSLA scores. We've achieved various accolades in the music department at several levels. We've had many students over the years recognized nationally in the FBLA program. Our sports teams won championships and achieved greater success than they have in prior years. And I'd just like to say this year, football's undefeated. Girls soccer, boys soccer, undefeated. And that's due to staff members coaching. Our middle school and high school musicals have been recognized at the state and national levels. We are an AP District Honor Roll recipient. All this and more has been achieved by our staff despite a $5 million deficit and its accompanying issues. Yet we are precisely the ones who are being forced to bear the brunt of the efforts to fix it, financial or otherwise, and that is unfair. we humbly and respectfully ask that all this be taken to heart by every member of this board, Superintendent Greco, and you as well, Mr. Egan, as we wish to be commended and not castigated, praised and not patronized, and rewarded and not reprimanded. I thank you all for your time and look forward to a bright future.
Thank you, Ross. Dean Stromolo is next.
Good evening. That's a tough act to follow, but I'm going to do my best. I really don't think anyone here is looking to hurt us or families or children or anything like that. That's just not anyone's intention, and would never put that as something that anyone's trying to do to us or anyone in this room. But I just think it's a lack of information that's getting out there. It's an issue with people not knowing the truth, not knowing where these plans fall, and not knowing all the coverages and the differences and the money that's involved in this. Look at a plan called Direct Zero that Mr. Egan talked about. It might be a great option. Hey, you can save some money, put a few dollars in your pocket. But do you know there's a $5,000 max out-of-pocket fee there? So if you have to go out of network to a doctor, it costs you $5,000 up front. But not only that, all services that are out of network in Direct Zero, they only pay you 200% of what Medicare would pay you. All remaining money is billed directly to you from the healthcare provider, which can exceed that $5,000 greatly with a quick surgery, a broken leg. So looking at these plans and seeing 20 differences, and the 21st being a money difference, and normally money would not be a factor. But in this case, money is a factor because the people behind me are paying, respectively, 35%, 29%. They're all paying a portion of this health care. So when you raise that premium, it raises their fee that comes out of their pocket. To the tune of $500,000 is the estimate if we go with a direct 10 policy, which they're going to be responsible for a portion of that, 29, 35%, wherever they fall. Someone talked about diabetic supplies, not covered on this plan. Currently covered at 80% on our plan now. So there are big changes in this that I think really need to be looked at, and the time needs to be there for us all to kind of come together. Also something that was talked about was the opt-out, and I'm really confused, and maybe Mr. McKeever can shed a little light on this one. But it seems as if the two things are collectively bargained separately, and we continue to talk about them together. So we started off with, hey, let's look at our opt-out rate because it's $13,500, but that's a separate part of our contract. So I'm not sure, are we moving towards healthcare to try to erase another part of the contract, or are we, fairly collective bargaining each side? Because there's two different things in the contract that we're talking about, and we're lumping them together into one. That's the first point. And a little history on that opt-out, it's always been in our contract. The price of that opt-out has raised over time. It's been from $5,000. People weren't taking that $5,000. So in an effort to save this board and this district money, it was raised by the Board of Education. It was proposed to all of our unions. Hey, let's move it to $13,500. Because if we pay you $13,500 to take it, we don't have to pay $27,000 if you take our insurance. So for each one of those 75 people, each one of those 75 people, the liability that it's creating for this Board of Education, they step back into that realm. It could either go from $13,500 or the exact number is $26,200. So that's a choice that we're going to make when we come back in. Me being one of them coming back in. So now it's no longer $13,500. It's a $26,200 difference when I take out back into the state health insurance. For us and for my union, it's just way too many differences. The money factor is way up there. It doesn't get close to equal to or better. And I stand behind all these people here tonight, and I just wish you guys would give it some time and due diligence on the policies and the money that's involved in this whole thing. Thank you.
that it's equal to, by far, it's not equal to the current plan. It's a lower cost alternative, which you don't have to take. It may be a good fit for a family who's young, healthy, and is looking to downgrade their coverage in exchange for savings premium. And as far as the out-of-network, the way the out-of-network works, the way the out-of-network works on that zero plan, it's covered at 200% of CMS rates, which is less than the current plan being offered, which is covered at 80% of fair rates. The Direct 10 plan is covered at 90% of fair rates, which actually is a better payout in the event of a large claim that gets balance billed. Something that we can talk about, probably not the forum for those details, but just some points that I felt needed to be addressed.
Joe Conley? Yes, Joe? Okay, go ahead.
Joe Tondi, NJEA, field representative for the LAA. I didn't want to get up. The last thing I wanted to do was speak tonight. I'll be very honest with you. But I'm kind of fed up with some of the things that I heard. And I don't like my members, and I said this to Robert too, to get a wrong impression about a plan. Okay? I recommend when they come to me, we do a comparison of plans. Okay? And I get our experts in from Trenton, and we compare your current plan to the state plan. Yeah, the state plan is more money. Okay? I understand all of that. I've been bargaining for approximately 25 years in Morris County and here. I've never, and I'm going to say this, I don't want the members, if you decide to switch, that's your call. I know his role, it's not my first rodeo. I have it in another district with a monitor. I know the powers that he has, and I know what he can do. Okay, and I'm one of my members. I met with them several years back before the monitor came in here to tell them what it's like to have a monitor in the district. Going back 3 years ago or so, when Rick Belichico walked up to the office with the past president and walked in there with the past business administrator, very nicely on opening day or the day before, I told them to switch plans. Well, they switched plans, and it was a catastrophe. There were no administrators around supporting the LEA at the time, coming out. It was the NJEA that filed the ULP and dozens of grievances to get our members paid. And if that happens again, we'll do the same thing again. We'll do the same thing again. I'll come and represent our members. They're not going to get any less health care. It already was tried here. It was tried. And we're in negotiations now. And the plan is in one part of the contract, and the opt-out is in the other part of the contract. They're two phases. They're two phases. But I don't want the members here that take health insurance to think that the NJEA, okay, would not be there for them if there's a lesser plan. Tell you something, I'm very honest with you. I've been with his going up against the Scarillo law firm for many years. I don't think I ever had a grievance with them over the state plan. Never. I don't even recall having one. The NJEA, we have our people, we have someone sitting on the board, and we do take care of our people. So, having said that, yes, they would like to stay in the plan. I'd like to see the peace and everybody stay in the same plan that you're at now, and have the peace and the opt-out that they have. Yes, they're going to lose money. And yes, with families, it does matter for them. It does matter. But I don't want the people to get a wrong impression. Thank you.
I was just asked to answer a question, I believe, from Mr. Strumlow. He asked concerning the waiver language contained in the contract and the movement to the school employees health benefit plan. And by the way, I'm just going to give you how I understand the two, just so you have a clear understanding. I'm not interested in collectively bargaining at a public meeting. When you're in a private plan and have a private carrier, you can bargain or collectively negotiate the amount of the waiver. When you move into the school employees health benefit plan, you're capped by operation of law as to what that waiver amount is. So while your collective bargaining agreement, or at least the one, and Mr. Strumlow, I can tell you, I'm not as familiar with the administrative contract as I am with the LEA contract. While those provisions may exist in separate portions of the collective bargaining agreement, where they converge is when there is a move to the school employees health benefit plan. Should you remain in a private plan or a private carrier, the parties can, at their option, bargain what the amount of that waiver amount is. There is a legal issue as to whether or not legislation would trump that portion of your collective bargaining agreement, but hopefully through joint negotiations we don't find ourselves dealing with that issue. But in terms of answering your question, Mr. Strumlow, when you're in a private plan, you can have a greater than $5,000 waiver, and that is typically collectively bargained. When you're in the school employees health benefit plan, which is the plan that governs school employees, the waiver is $5,000. Actually, it's the lesser of 25% of the amount of premium, or $5,000. But given the amount of premium that currently the school employees health benefit plan charges, you're basically at $5,000. So I just want to make sure I clarified that and give you at least the benefit of the answer to your question.
Speak on behalf of the negotiations committee that we have been willing, more than willing, to meet at any point. And the last date we had, which was September 23rd, for us to sit down to discuss a lot of this, was inexplicably canceled by the union. I would like to have these discussions back in with the negotiations committee and the LEA. And if we can arrange something as soon as possible, we'd be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely, sir.
So moving on to the agenda, finance, Mr. Andronopoulos.
Under finance, any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions under the category of the finance committee may so indicate now, and a separate motion for each of the accepted actions shall be entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion that we adopt 1 through 27.
Roll call.
Mr. Avoscato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. 4. Ms. Alcieri. Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Bernardino. 4. Mr. Bruno. 4. Mr. Mendola. 4. Mr. Donovan. 4. Ms. Keefe.
4. Ms. Alcieri.
Any board member who takes exception to any of the following actions listed under the category of education and curriculum committee may so indicate now, and a separate motion for each of the accepted actions will be entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion that 1 through 6 be adopted.
Do we hear a second? Roll call, please.
Mr. Avoscato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. 5. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ms. Alcieri.
Four.
Mr. Antonopoulos. Mr. Ferrandino. Mr. Vuno. Mr. Vindola. Mr. Donovan. Ms. Keefe.
Four.
Mr. Donovan.
Any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions under the category of policy, rules, and regulations committee may so indicate now to set the motion for each of the accepted actions being entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion to accept 1 and 2.
Second.
Roll call.
Mr. Rappustato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. Ms. Alcieri.
Four.
Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Ferrandino. 4. Mr. Vuno. 4. Mr. Vindola.
Four.
Mr. Donovan.
4.
Ms. Keefe.
Four.
Any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions under the category of community relations and safety and security committee may so indicate now in a separate motion for each of the accepted actions to be entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion that we accept number 1, 2, through 3.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Rappustato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. 4. Ms. Alcieri.
Four.
Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Ferrandino. 4. Mr. Vuno. 4. Mr. Vindola.
Four.
Mr. Donovan. 4. Ms. Keefe.
Four. Mr. Wood.
Any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions under the category of athletics and student activities committee may so indicate now in a separate motion for each of the accepted actions will be entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion that we accept 1, 2, and 3.
Second. Roll call.
Mr. Rappustato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. 4. Ms. Alcieri. 4. Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Ferrandino. 4. Mr. Vuno. 4. Mr. Vindola.
Four.
Mr. Donovan. 4. Ms. Keefe.
Four.
Any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions in the category of new business may so indicate now in a separate motion for each of the accepted actions will be entertained. Hearing none, I make a motion that we approve item 1.
Question, we tabling this? Are we tabling what? The new business? Yes. You said you're open to negotiations. Would that affect this? What this is notifying the state that we're opting in.
Roll call for number 1.
We need a second. I apologize. Ms. Alcieri had a question, so we now have a second. Okay, roll call.
Mr. Rappustato. 4. Mr. Pizzuti. Ms. Alcieri.
Against.
Mr. Antonopoulos. 4. Mr. Ferrandino. 4. Mr. Vuno.
Recuse myself.
Mr. Vindola.
I just want to say something first. I'm limited to what I can say, but legally, I'm not allowed to vote. But I come from a family of educators, and I would never want my health care changed at this point in my life. I just want to let you know where I stand. I fully support what's going on here tonight, and legally I have to recuse myself.
Mr. Donovan. 4. Ms. Keefe.
Four. So we all met? No. We all met?
committee, any board member who takes exception to any of the following listed actions under the category of personnel may so indicate now, and a separate motion for each of the expected actions will be entertained. Can I please have a second motion, please? Roll call. It's number K. Correct. Okay, well, so what's happening is there are three names that are being tabled off of their professional development. We're discussing personnel, K1 under personnel, and we're tabling three names that are currently on that page. So the three names that are being tabled are Christina Bernardo, Michael Rizzo, and Peter Strumolo. That professional development is being tabled, and then
Just make sure the movement and the person who seconded will approve the resolution as amended to be stated. When it's tabled, that means it has to come back on the table. So,
okay, so
are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Then
The person
whoever seconded.
Dina, are you okay with the table? Okay. Okay. So now we're taking a roll call on the amended resolution. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry,
It's a roll call.
Abiscano. Mr. Pizzuti. Ms. Alcieri.
We're voting on everyone except those three?
Correct.
This is being tabled?
They are.
4.
Mr. Antonopoulos. Mr. Ferrandino. Mr. Bruno. Mr. Mendola. Mr. Donovan.
Just to confirm, we are voting on everything except K and those three omissions, correct? K1, 4.
Ms. Keefe.
4. Okay, now we're moving on to the public hearing for non-agenda items, and the first person to speak is Sarah Rodriguez.
Excuse me. My name is Sarah Rodriguez. I'm a Lyndhurst High School parent. I have a daughter who graduated the high school, is in college now, and I have a sophomore presently in school. There's a couple items I wanted to bring up. The first thing I wanted to know is I was very disappointed with the late posting of the schedule this year. The children were working diligently, my daughter was working diligently on all her homework and AP assignments, and the children only were informed of their schedule the weekends of the holiday. And then there were disappointments with the schedule. There were classes that were not chosen, there were conflicts in schedule, and there were some students who actually did their AP homework and were not assigned to that AP class. So I believe those things did get worked through in time for most of the children, but nonetheless, I thought it was a very delayed notification to the students and to the parents. I understand there was a lot of things to work out this year, but again, I think it was just a very late notification. Another thing that came to a shock to me is as we discussed at meetings for the past year, about scheduling, and both of my children were very active in the music program. Again, we have even a bigger problem that we did last year, where there's conflict in scheduling with some other classes, and the band is still divided up into groups. So again, they're not in any better situation than they were last year, and that was of a concern. The rotating schedule I find very confusing. If we change this anymore, I think we need some sort of algorithm to figure out what my child is going to be doing that day. Luckily, my daughter, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but my daughter is quite responsible, and she's able to keep things in check and know what she's doing on any particular day. I just find the rotating schedule a little absurd. I'd like to know if anybody can explain to me what the rationale behind that is. I really don't understand what the purpose of this rotation is. And another thing that's disappointing is my daughter has been an active member of the high school jazz band since the beginning of her high school years, and I've come to find out that that no longer is being, that class is no longer receiving credits. The children were willing to give up their lunchtime for that class. They enjoyed that class. They performed for the community as a jazz band. And again, now we're, without any real warning, we find out that the children will not receive credit for that class. So I believe those are the only points I have. I'm sure there's a lot more on my mind, but those are the most pressing ones that I had for tonight. Thank you.
Roseanne? Come on up.
Hi. So about 18 months ago, I came up here and I put together a really elaborate concern about what I felt was the systematic disinfiltration of the music program, and that there was a lot of concerns I had that it was really being systematically destroyed. And now, 18 months later, we're still in two separate bands. We don't have jazz band. It seems like it's all coming true instead of improving. And I was really optimistically assuming that we'd have a lot of improvements here, and I'm very concerned over where this is going. And I was very optimistic that we were getting this one schedule together, and it seems like 4 months and nothing was done to get the schedules together. I'm sorry, I don't want to say nothing was done, but we're right back in the same boat. Nothing was improved. I don't understand it. Nutley Jazz Band is a class. It's Jazz Lab. It is a class that they get credit for. The kids go 3 days a week on their lunchtime. How is that not something they should get credit for? They put out a lot of hard work. They do a lot of dedication. All these over and over again. Studies show music trains the right brain and left brain. We have honor students, we have AP students, we have top-ranking students in the class that are all participation in the music program. It all benefits the overall school system, and I don't understand why we continually keep chipping it away and taking the self-esteem of these students down with this because they feel like they're not worthy. And it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Sorry for my passion. I'm a little bit frustrated tonight, so thank you for your time.
Leslie? Good evening. For those of you who don't know me, I graduated here in 1987. I'm a lifelong resident of Lyndhurst. I love my town. I'm very proud of where I came from. My 92-year-old mother graduated here in 1944. She still lives in the house that she grew up in. My roots are deep. I've been part of the music and arts program in the school. I've been a part of music and arts my whole life, and I thank God for that because it's made me who I am. My daughter is a senior. She'll be graduating this June, an honors student. And she'll be off to college on her way. After she leaves, it's the future of the children here that I'm concerned for. Piggybacking on what Ms. Almeida just stated about jazz band, the band being split into two. These children work hours upon hours with their homework, their scheduling, their extracurricular sports activities, and then they play their instruments for hours at home at night, and on their lunch hours to rehearse for jazz band, which is exceptional. I started here in 1983, 84 was my freshman year, and Mr. DeLoso started that same year. And what he has built since then is unparalleled. He's an exceptional man. He's a teacher, and he's a human being. He listens to the students. I've been to 3 states with these students in the past 4 years, and I've seen nothing but people dancing and smiling when they perform. I've seen them come together and forget about life maybe for a half a second while they watch the students on the stage at Disney perform. This is something these children might not do if it weren't for music. Music brings children out of their shell. And for children to have talent and come together and become so wonderful as part of a whole, and you're trying to take that away from them brick by brick. When you tell children things like this, when you take away jazz programs and make it a club, you're telling them they don't matter. And when you tell a child they don't matter, you know what happens to that child? They crawl into a rock. And they might not go forward with what they think is their passion. You know, children, people are born singers. I don't believe you can really learn how to sing. I believe musicians and the gifted musicians that I've seen over the years, too many to name, they're born with this gift. And I think it should be honed. This marching band is announced the pride of Lyndhurst every time they take the field at a football game. Is this the pride of Lyndhurst? Is this how we treat the pride of Lyndhurst? I think you can take away their cell phones, and you can take away their privilege to play a sporting event if they don't attend practice. You can bench them. But you cannot take away who they are. And who they are is because of music. They were born to play these instruments. These children play the instruments the way the composers meant for them to be heard. And I find it very disenchanting that this program is being treated the way it is, after it has been built for 35 years, tirelessly. The children deserve better, and I hope you reconsider diminishing it to a club and keeping it as an honors program, as equal as an Italian honors program or a math or science honors program. These children are the top 10% of their classes, and they deserve better. Thank you for your time.
I'm sorry, I wasn't on any list, but I want to, if I can. There were some parents here that had some questions, and they went unanswered by the board. And I just felt like it was a good opportunity for you to be answered. So a couple things. One is, and I won't be long, I'll be short and as concise as I can be. With regard to the late schedule, that kind of ties into the rotating schedule. We were a couple years ago, and one of the issues that was brought up was the fact that we had staff cut. Much of that staff, most of that staff was in the high school. Part of that staff was in our guidance department and CSD department, which is our student services. Which means we have less guidance counselors who have a bigger caseload, and it's usually guidance that helps put together the schedule every year. So with our reduction in staff, that took a little bit longer, unfortunately. We had guidance counselors here working tirelessly over the summer. I can't commend them enough for the work that they put in and the hours that they put in to help build the schedule and to help schedule students. The second thing, piggybacking that was understanding the rotating schedule. I've been looking at a rotating schedule for years, and we've unfortunately been handcuffed by some issues that are out of my control. And in looking at high-achieving high schools, and we've heard from teachers, schedules rotate throughout the course of the day. Usually morning classes rotate, and the afternoon classes rotate. For the very reason that there are some students who look at internship programs or release time programs. So those students now have the opportunity to be released in the afternoons, take their core classes in the morning. So if they need physical education and English as requirements for high school graduation, they can take those classes in the morning. Afternoon then will rotate, and then those students can either do their share times or internships. So those are things that we're looking towards the future. What we're trying to do is better the schedule, working with what we have in the best interest of the students. So we are looking at those types of academy programs and share time programs and internships. But that can only come once we have the schedule in place that will allow the students to do that. The second thing, or one of the things...
Laura, I apologize for interrupting you. What I'm going to ask is, the three people who got up had questions that are related to the band. And if possible, instead of addressing it here, if it's possible for you to come to speak to the LHS Music Association, because I think there are concerns, and that's a better arena to discuss this.
So you don't want to get into that right now?
Excuse me?
Oh, you don't want to talk about that right now?
I think we can do that. I think there's representatives here from the band, but I think it would probably be more effective if you speak to the LHS Band Music Association. That way, they can maybe better understand some of the decisions that were made.
Okay, that's fine. I just didn't want you to go unrecognized or unacknowledged. That's all.
Thank you, Laura. I was going to try to touch on some of the topics, but I think Ms. Bruno initially broaching the topics was a better idea, and I think going to an association meeting, I would be happy to join her to kind of answer it from more of a global perspective, because she's looking at it from a high school lens, and I'm looking at it from a district lens, and I think, yes.
This decision about making that event, look, I want to know if you would tell me who up here does not believe jazz band should be an honor program or a separate program that should be in the school club. I want to know who doesn't want that. I know who wants it. I know who's for it. I want to know who doesn't want it. And why?
I don't think anybody up here is going to say they're, against.
Why not?
No, I'm not. I don't think there is. I mean, I don't want to speak for everybody, but
Someone doesn't want the music program to have a jazz band. Why?
I
I
think
want to
we,
know who doesn't want the jazz band.
what I can say about the jazz band is that we had multiple conversations at the end of March, and why some of that information wasn't disseminated, I don't know. I think we had, as we probably know, a lot of issues that we're trying to address in the music department, and we're probably not where we want to be. I'm sorry? I definitely wouldn't say that, because we've spent a lot of time on it, and rightfully so. It's important, and I think it's important to a lot of people. I think we probably should go one at a time.
not the same as an Italian honors class or a biology AP course. Why is it not good enough? They work on their lunch hour. Why is it being pushed to the side?
I don't think that's the case.
As a parent, looking from the outside, every one of those 90 students in band want to be in a jazz band. They are hand-selected because of their talent. And they're being pushed aside. And I don't think that's fair. I frankly think it stinks. And I'd like to know who wants it that way. I know who's for it. I want to know who's against it. And no one will answer me.
Again, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I don't think there's anybody against doing something in the best interest of kids.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
It doesn't count, but it lets us know who's for it. Went to the school.
I think the board has been very clear that they support the band. I think trickling down from that, there's a lot of logistical issues that need to be addressed, and I think they could be better addressed, not necessarily in this forum, but at a music association meeting where, because I think there's, like I said, there's some representatives here, but there's a bigger community that would like answers, and I think it could be best served there.
Not only plays for football games, they play the Halloween parade, they play Memorial Day parade. If they weren't with the band this year, you might as well not even have time. They do their concerts. They are baseball parade, movie parade. There's so many things that they are involved in. And I've been with this group. I'm the oldest one. I got a lifetime membership. Okay, 31 years. And for 31 freaking years, this band has been disrespected like I've never seen before. And I've kept quiet long enough. Interest of all of us in here, not just band parents at a band association meeting. Thank you, Jim.
Are you okay with continuing what you were saying? Listen, I just think we thought it was a better venue to kind of address it in front of the band association. Like Ms. Bruno started getting into some of the issues that we were struggling with, but again, I don't think anybody's. No. So again, we're trying our best. Nobody's closing out any options. I mean, again, I can tell you what I feel, and I can tell you that I think that the board has good intentions. Yes.
When would we be meeting as parents on the association?
I would say, I mean, I would be willing to go.
Next Monday night, 7 o'clock.
I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I don't want to confirm for people, but I'm most likely available.
You're saying you're willing to meet with the association
Sure.
of parents. Are you willing to reconsider?
I don't think anything's been totally dismissed. I mean, these were some decisions that were made at the end of March, so why it's coming up today, I'm not really sure. I was kind of... Right, but that decision was talked about a number of months ago, so I don't know why that information wasn't disseminated.
The first I heard of it was it was going to be a club that was reinstituted as a Tuesday.
I would be more than happy to meet on Monday, if that's good.
Will you be able to come also?
I'd have to check with her.
Right,
So.
well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We welcome all of you to come to our meeting because it is a discussion that we want to have. There are things that were promised to us. And better than us, there were things that were promised to our children. And I have a big problem with adults, we all are, breaking promises to our children. Because number one, they're our future. And if we're letting them down now, and this is what's going to happen later on. I want them to know that we are loud and proud of all of them. Whether you be a football player, whether you be a that they weren't all that one team. Because, gosh darn it, they are the best I've ever seen.
I can assure you that there was involvement and assistance in trying to make that happen, and I feel terrible about the fact that we couldn't keep that promise.
Put on the record, not only are they wonderful and outstanding human beings, but we have students that cannot come and join in the band and participate because they're scheduled so that they can't. 2 seniors, yet they come to every practice. They're out there on that field right now, and they come and they do the game. And I think that should be taken into consideration. They are getting no credit for what they're doing, and that's wrong. And that's not my time. I welcome you, I encourage all of you on this board to come and speak to our children, because they come to those meetings too. Let them really know. I give you credit because you did come last year, but we've got to be on the same page. Sorry about that.
Up there, go to the band concert, listen to the band, but most of all, I've ever heard that jazz band. Let me tell you. Woo! I want to quote Mr. Hughes, which I appreciate what he did. He compared the Lyndhurst High School band to a Division I college band. And if we're not proud of those kids, shame on you. Now, I would like to know how many of you attend the concerts regularly? Yes, but no. So how can you judge these kids if you don't know what they do?
Excuse me, but I think everyone goes to the concerts, and we should be raising our hands. We all know, how much we support the band. It's not a show of hands right now.
I think that our band program, our music program has been very successful. I think there's a lot of concern with how it's been developing, and it needs to be addressed. And I think that the parents and the students deserve answers, and we're more than happy to come to the next Music Association meeting where they could be discussed. And I'm sorry, I mean, everybody's speaking from the chairs and raising their hands, but technically you do need to sign in, so I apologize, but we need to move this along. So please, I'm not disregarding you, but there is a process, and
And again, I think that's why we kind of went the route of trying to do this in the near future, which is next week, or if everybody can attend, because I gotta be 100% honest with you. I wasn't prepared to answer those questions, not that there's some rehearsed answers that I'm gonna give, but I think everybody has good intentions, so I just want you guys to know. All of our administrators and all of our
we have one more person that's signed up to speak for non-agenda items, and that's Darius Hughes.
Thank you. Earlier this year, on September 11th, we had a ceremony, as we do every year, at the ShopRite Park, as we called it when we were kids, the Fountain Park, as they call it now. And it was really a moving ceremony. I was able to bring my 8th grade there, and it was just something special for everybody involved. I had a conversation with Mr. Buno not too long after that, and I had spoken about it in years past in this up here. We really need to look into doing something from a curriculum standpoint, teaching 9/11 history. As a social studies teacher for the past 22 years, I started teaching that as current events. And it was really fresh for a long time, but now it's fallen into the recess of history, where we don't even have students in high school anymore who were born at the time. They are freshmen and sophomores in college. So it is long gone from a current event. It is now part of our history, along with our Veterans Affairs, which, again, I'm not taking a shot at anyone. I just feel personally, as someone who's been involved with veterans for years, we, as a school system, kind of give them short shrift. Not that they're not recognized. They are recognized. But at 9/11, we had a great program. I'm talking about having something maybe in the first week of school for the 9/11 program where it's across the board. Obviously handled differently for the younger kids. Maybe you don't do it with the pre-K, kindergarten, first grade, or whatever. But really from 4th grade up, right through 12th grade, it's probably something that we should be doing I don't know or care what other towns or other states do, but in the shadow of New York City, it's something we should be doing. That's just something I felt pretty strongly about. Spoke to Mr. Bruno about it earlier in the day. So if we could, I'd be happy to volunteer to be on the committee.
I was just going to ask you if Joe and I try to meet with you and maybe get a principal on the committee and grab some social studies teachers throughout the district.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, you didn't mention that a lot of our new teachers that were probably 4 or 5 years old.
Sure.
We have them too, so it's.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, so it's true. Thank you.
Mr. Rizzo, go ahead.
Hello, Michael Rizzo, lifelong resident and 16-year member of the district. Earlier, you tabled something from the professional development log, including myself and 2 other administrators. I'm just curious as to why it was that singled out and nothing else.
I think there were just some questions about it, so we'll get back to you like in a day or two.
Even though it's a part of the ALA contract?
I'm aware of that now, so that's.
Okay, because this happened last year as well, with a similar situation with professional development and the ALA contract, and it was tabled, and 3 administrators that were supposed to go to professional development to learn new things, to be better educators and leaders here, it was tabled, and then we never got to go to those professional development things. So I'm just curious as to why it's happening again, and quite frankly, it's happening to me personally, again for the second time, and that's very upsetting that it's happened to me personally, that's the second time. So it's really upsetting when your administrators put forth to go to trips and take time away from their family to learn new things in education and stay current on what's important in education, and we just get the runaround and then never get to go. So I'm looking forward to hearing back.
I can promise you we'll get something.
Because the next board meeting is like days before the convention. So
I understand that. That's why.
before we lose money out of our pockets again, like last year, I'd like to thank you.
Understood. Thank you.
Maria, come on up.
Hi, my name is Maria Gashion. I'm a sophomore. I know we kind of drift off the whole band thing, but just go back to it for 1 second. I've been doing band since I was in 4th grade, and never have I found as little joy in it as I find it now. Between all of the misconceptions with the band blocks and classes and what you guys are trying to do with jazz band and the club, we practice for jazz band 3 times a week. We give up our lunch periods. We perform in and outside of school. We do a lot more than you give us credit for. And I mean, we're some of your top students, we're some of your top athletes. I just think that we should put that into consideration. It's just, you might know that I've been involved in a lot of regional and state things regarding band, and regardless of the talent that I have for it, with all the, stuff that's been happening with and all of the conflicts that there have been, it's just hard for me to find joy in, what I love doing anymore. So, you've heard from the perspective of the teachers, you've heard from the perspective of the parents, and you're hearing from the, from my standpoint as a student. I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, Maria. All right, you had your hand up before. Go ahead. Please come on up. This is the last one.
How's it going? My name is Matt Baird. I'm a junior here, right? I've been in band since 4th grade. I'm one of the lead trumpet players here. I was part of the jazz band. And I'm just confused because we found out today that we're not getting credits for it anymore. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. Can one of you explain to me why I'm not getting credits for it? I don't understand that.
Nobody ever closed out anything officially one way or the other, and I think we were just looking to do something for this year. This was something that was spoken about in March, so again, Why it wasn't shared earlier, I don't know. But I will be happy to be at the meeting on Monday, and there's nobody's closing out any options, but I think as of right, I think we're looking at things in short-term phases, because there's a lot going on, not just with band, but by all means, we're open to discussing anything. So I don't have an answer for you right now tonight, and I'm not gonna lie to you, so I don't want to make something up and say, you know, this is the reason why. So I think if we can be on Monday, that would be great.
Okay, thank you.
You got it. Please.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out tonight and getting up to speed. And I'm going to, can I have a motion to adjourn? Wow, that was quick, huh? They want to get out of here. And so the meeting's adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.